Good morning, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us this morning as we have yet another conversation with Wendy. Thank you for all those who have done their introductions. If you're new, karibu sana to our conversations. If you're returning, always thank you for joining us every last Friday of the month. My name is Josephine Wawira, and I'll be co-moderating this session. I see a lot of people are putting in their chats. Tell us where you're coming from, your name, and how your morning is. Today we are joined by a great deal of panelists, Natalia and Gisheha, and we will have Nancy Kemunto joining us in a bit, and we'll be addressing one of the key issues that we have received from all of your feedbacks on mastering applicant tracking systems for job seekers. Somebody told me once recently that we are all job seekers at some point. And so this webinar is for all of us, okay? And once again, we are going to be hosted by a very, very lively Wendy, which is why we call these conversations with Wendy. Most people are still joining, but at this point we are going to start and they will find us along the way. Now remember how we always do this. We are live streaming the session live on YouTube, and also we are going to have an interactive session with our panelists, but we will also allow for Q&A. So feel free to put in your Q&A or on the chat. Every 20 minutes, I'll try and pick out one of the questions that is aligning with the topic, and I will allow one of the persons to unmute themselves and ask the question in person. And then probably at the end of it, we're going to have a Q&A session. Remember, this session or this webinar today is all about job seekers and job applications. So a lot of these questions will be coming from you, even as we interact with our panelists. So feel free to shoot your question, and then a few of you will be able to ask themselves in in person. So for you to be able to do that, please put your question on the Q&A session. We will notice it, and then we're going to unmute you for that session. We'll also be interacting on our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and on Instagram, Conversations with Wandi. Feel free to tag us as well. Join the conversation here and online. If you still know people who will be interested in joining, the link is still open for registration and for participation, so feel free to share with them. At this juncture, I don't want to take much of your time, so allow me to introduce Wandera Kweyu, who is going to be the host for this session as always. Karibu sana, Wandi.
Thank you very much, Josephine, for the very warm welcome, and a warm welcome to all our participants, and thank you for letting us know where you're tuning in from. Allow me to just make a quick introduction of all the panelists so that we can begin this conversation. And in no particular order, I would request my panelists to switch on their cameras so that we can see you before we continue.
It's not allowing me to share it.
Josephine, I think we can amend that. We can amend that. Alrighty, as that is ongoing, I think I would just, since Natalia, we have you on, we will just request that you make a quick introduction before we go into the conversation.
Absolutely. My full name is Natalia Zahra Polishchuk Mohammed. I didn't choose any of them. My parents are kind of mixed, so I inherit quite a lot. I have been a recruiter almost all of my career, starting with a year brief in HR and really sitting in recruitment most of my career. I worked for over a decade for Oracle on a regional basis, and since now coming up to year 6, I run an organization called justwork.com. It has a missing U because we are looking for you. And we really do a lot of headhunting, career development, and of course, the infamous digital CV. How do I get that next role? So I hope to be able to contribute substantially today.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for that introduction. Gishe, how are you on?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Wandi. And good morning to all our listeners joining in this morning. So my name is Gisheha Gitau. You can call me Gich if Gisheha is too long. I'm currently people analyst with Career Connections. I've been supporting with recruitment for the last 7 years, psychometric assessment, and as well as data analytics. So when it comes to talking about ATS and how that is important for job seekers, then that's a very interesting subject for me. And I do hope that our listeners in today will get to have a better understanding of how to work with the system, how to make the systems work for them, and also equip them with some of the skills that will allow them to at least be able to proceed with the recruitment process, beginning from the ATS all the way to the very end. So looking forward to an engaging session, and please ask as many questions as possible.
Thank you very much, Gish, for that very interesting introduction. Nancy, I don't know if you're here.
Yes, I'm here. I don't know whether you can see or hear, because it's telling me my video cannot be on.
No, you're on. Your video is on, Nancy.
Okay, that's fine. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to be here. My name is Nancy Kemunto Mokua. I am the CEO and Managing Director at My Jobs in Kenya. I've been at My Jobs in Kenya for the last 10 years. It's been an exciting journey. My career started in law. I've done a bit of insurance, sales, and now I'm in recruitment. So I advise on recruitment, matters jobs, and matters career. So it's lovely to meet all of you. This is going to be an engaging and exciting session. At least I can tell you for sure that everyone here is an expert in this field. Karibuni. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you very much, Nancy, and to all my panelists, thank you very much for your time, and we're very excited again to have you here. For everybody that is joining, this is Conversations with Wandi. On this topic, on this month, we shall be discussing what an applicant tracking system actually is and how job seekers can be able to make it work for them. And I just want to start this conversation with my own appreciation of what I understood then to be an applicant tracking system, I had this very good understanding that I can be able to sit back and research. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm an overthinker in chief. I was able to think that I would research and find everything that I need to find and create this perfect resume and send it. And as Josephine had said from the beginning of the conversation, that at some point, all of us have been job seekers, or we are still job seekers, and we're interacting with these systems each and every day. So when I was making my own approaches, I got so many rejections that the only thing I used to associate with an applicant tracking system is disappointment. And it took me a very long time to get to that point where I was able to state very clearly for myself and for my own confidence, because, you know, as a job seeker, 9 out of 10, it's very exhausting, especially when you're getting all these rejections that are coming through. I was able to tell myself that it's not me, it's the ATS. I think from then I have learned a great deal of what an applicant tracking system is correctly. And this is why we are going to have this conversation today, to just start off with an understanding from Gisheha, because you said this is something that you have done very well for a long time, and we wanted to appreciate on your side. If you could just walk us through the general flow of an ATS when a candidate makes an application for a job, so that we can have an understanding of the same.
Thank you very much for that question, Wendy. So I think demystifying ATS, so that's an applicant tracking system. It's meant to simplify the recruitment process, and it helps with the organizing all the candidates' information and automating that process, so that then you're able to sift through the most qualified candidates as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, be able to communicate to those candidates, and also be able to take them to the next stages of the process. And therefore, there's various touch points. It's not the beginning of the recruitment process. You possibly have had some interactions. You already know there's a role somewhere that's being recruited for, and then boom, you have a link. On that link, which could come in any shape, in any form, it could be in your email, it could be in WhatsApp, it could be on LinkedIn, wherever it might be. It may not necessarily tell you it's an ATS, but the moment you start filling your details, and the moment you start uploading your profile or your CV, then that's the first step when you click on submit to be able to provide your document into that system. I remember at the very beginning, though, this one time I just submitted my CV before I knew what an ATS was. And it just asked me to upload a PDF, and I uploaded, and then boom, there was a name here. It's gotten my name, it's gotten my email addresses, and I was wondering what is this magic? What's going on? And you know, that's essentially what an ATS is. Once you submit your document, the next step is using the technology. It's able to sort of segregate the information that you've shared using natural language processing. Basically, that means it's a system trying to understand the English language, or whatever language it is that the system can be able to understand. And it's able to separate it in terms of your names, your data, whatever you filled in terms of your career history, and everything else that you have, the CV, so that it's very easy for the system to be able to sift through that. And then once that happens, then it makes it very possible for the system to start picking on keywords. And I'm sure we'll be talking much more about what exactly this means. And you know, that can allow you to be able to match it to a particular job description. It can allow you to start ranking based on an algorithm that is inbuilt into the system. And then it can be able to say, out of the 100 CVs that we received, we think this would be, these are the top ranked, and maybe you should consider screening them to proceed to the next stage. Which might be maybe long listing and just having a list of saying, these are the candidates that I think would be applicable for the role that I'm recruiting for. Remember, that's only when you follow an application system, or rather an ATS. There's various ways in which that information can still be gotten, but essentially that's the gist of an ATS.
Right, that's actually very beautifully said, Gish. And one of the things that I hear very clearly is that what it is that you have put into the canvas, that the system will be able to translate back to the person that is behind the system. And I've seen Natalia, you talk a lot about this digital CV and what it is that this thing should be. So in relation to how the ATSs work, and just what Gisheha has said, what are some of the tips that you can be able to give job seekers to make sure that they are putting things in their digital CV that can actually add value to the persons that are reading it, either through the system or sometimes are reading it live.
That was a very good, very good, Gitch. I really like that technical explanation. I think being a headhunter, I tend to, all of recruitment, what do we search for? First, the most important element when you are looking to beat any ATS or any application is essentially, first is your job title. When we go in, we look for a specific job title match. So if your current job title, and remember, one job function can have several variations. So even myself, I can be talent acquisition, I can be a director, a recruitment director, I can be a headhunter. So the first and foremost, the most important, I would say, is the job title that you are actually, your job title is really critical. Of course, we search also via location. If we're looking for a job in Kenya, we want for you to be in Kenya. The second thing I would say is that there is something I call hard keywords or soft keywords. Hard keywords are things we are likely to search, things like performance management. We might look for, I don't know, contracts. We might look for very specific hard skills, whereas soft skills are very descriptive, ambitious, motivated, driven. We are not likely to, whether you are somebody managing the back office of a sort of job application or job board, we are still going to put in hard skills. We are not going to look for somebody, we're not searching for ambition or how driven you are. We are going to look for hard skills. Do you have financial analysis? Can you do appraisals in HR? So the two things that I would say, in my experience, are very important. First is your current job title. The more similar your job title is to the job you are applying, the more likely the systems are to pick you up. And also we will put in keywords, and these hard skills versus soft skills, what I would say are some key areas to look at when beating application tracking systems.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia, for that. And if we are hearing correctly, we've understood from Gish that what you put into the system is what it is that the person behind the systems, or what the system will translate for you to be able to advance into the next processes of the system. And listening to you, Natalia, you've been able to mention some of those key things that you need to be able to put in your CV so that the ATS can translate it as well as possible. You've spoken about the hard issues like the titles that you have, the communication of the hard skills that are there, and also the soft skills that are needed, especially the descriptive words that would help the ATS read the system properly. And as I'm speaking, I'm just imagining, like for you, Nancy, where you are actually managing some of the largest ATS systems that we have, and quite a number of people that are in there. What are some of the things that you can be able to just speak to the job seekers that are here today to be able to understand when are you overdoing it and when are you doing it just right?
Thank you, Adi. And I think this is an exciting conversation to all job seekers and everyone who is moving upwards. And the first thing we need to tell ourselves as job seekers is you need to know what you want and what you're going for. Understand what the job description is requiring. You need to know what the job description requires of you so that you can be able to package yourself well, okay? Because an ATS system should not scare us. It's just supposed, it's actually, as we've told you, it's supposed to help recruiters organize and maintain recruitment. It's supposed to help us as recruiters to track where you are so that you do not get lost. So it's not something, it's not an animal that is has been made to lock you out, okay? So first thing you need to ask yourself is like, am I fit for this role? And how can I be able to package myself well for this role, okay? So as a job seeker, the mistake we see many people making is that number one, they'll use one CV just to apply for everything, okay? People are not customizing their CVs, or what we can say, optimizing their CVs, targeting roles accordingly, okay? You change positions, you're not able to update your CV, because sometimes, many times as a recruiter, someone can send you a CV and tell you, I know the right person for this job, but when you open the CV, it's not even updated. Okay, so first of all, ensure that your CV is updated when you're looking for the job. Ensure that your CV actually has what the recruiter is looking for, okay? So as a recruiter, we also want to see where it is that you are trying to go. Why have you applied for this position? Do you have those skills? Are those skills jumping out when we read the CV? You know, you need to be able to surpass the system, so to speak, because you have what the job description is requesting that you should have. So these skills, as Natalia has told you, must actually appear in your CV so that you can stand out. So I think, Wadi, you're going to guide us. There are many questions so that we can go step by step. Yeah, but I think I just wanted to tell people that, number one, remember, the system that you see is supposed to help the recruiter organize the recruitment process. Two, follow the instructions correctly, because sometimes there's a reason why you find some organizations will have a long, detailed instruction requiring you to register. Don't be stubborn, refusing to register, asking why are they asking for all these details. There's a reason why they're asking for all these details. Remember, you're always competing. You're not the only person applying for that role. You're not the only talented person. Remember that. So ensure that you're positioning yourself well. So take time, avoid errors when you're filling in those forms or when you are trying to create your details. And most importantly, work when you've got time. You know, when you do things last minute, that's when you make mistakes, okay? So I'll just advise you to create time and try and follow instructions. Take time, because when you're applying for a visa, you want to go to the US, it tells you it might take 90 minutes. Why wouldn't you even dedicate that to your own career? Because you must have a career development plan. You must know what you want so that you're able to do a good application. I hope I've answered you, Wadi.
Yes, thank you very much, Nancy, for that response. And you've raised some very important points for job seekers to always have in mind. What it is, again, that you put into your CV and what it is that you feed into the system is what the system will tell the persons that are recruiting to join. Now, one of the things that is very clear from what has been said today is that an applicant tracking system is just that, it's an aid. It's not the thing that we should worry about. And for me, the thing that pops in my mind when we say that is, if we have an aid that can help us to read more applications, this is actually very good for you as a job seeker. I remember like 3-5 years back, some very troubling statistics were coming out from job seeking. It was very clear that they were saying CVs are read, they're given 6 seconds and to a maximum of 10 seconds views from a recruiter. And that is extremely frightening for anybody that is trying to make an application. So when you're having a system like this helps the recruiter to actually see you better, to understand you better, and to bring some of the things that you need to bring to the table better. And that's why I wanted to just go back to you, Gisheha, to understand, now that you're very keen about analytics and the data that comes into a CV, would there be any trends that you want us to understand in the advancement of applicant tracking systems in the industry that would be useful for the applicants, for the job applicants that are here, or maybe even some of the recruiters that have joined us this morning?
Yeah, that's a great question, Wendy, and especially because of the technological advancement that you're experiencing. Just a background. So ATS, I think they started coming into the mainstream recruitment around, late 1990s. And that has changed throughout the years. I mean, before you just put in a CV and you're sort of repeating and copy pasting the same information in other tabs. That has now evolved with the natural language processing, like talked about, large language models. You all know about ChatGPT, about BARD and all that. So the industry is currently around $2.7 billion US, and that is expected to grow on an ongoing basis. That tells you that the market actually appreciates the role of the ATS. It also says that we as people in recruitment, we want to get the right talent and we want to get that talent fast. So if anything, I think ATS are going to increase or make your candidate experience very easy and very enjoyable as you go about it. It also allows you to be able to focus on what is important as a candidate, as opposed to just manual processes of filling in the information that has been poured in there. So I think when you look at some of the other advances that we expect to see is the increased rate at which the technology that gets the information from your CV becomes more efficient. I mean, for some of the ATSs, if you check online, they are as efficient as 97%. That means it can get almost all the information from your CV more quickly than I can as a recruiter, and more fast. So that's a very interesting trend. And if a system is able to do that, then it means as a candidate, you need to spend time to make sure you're putting the best foot forward. When you're providing that CV to the system or to whatever link that has been submitted to you, how have you taken time to understand what the role is, to make sure that you're giving your best at that particular instance? So I usually say looking for a job is a job in itself. It's not as simple as there's a link there, just click send. I was talking to someone who was telling me, you keep on sending CVs. And I was like, yo, can I have a look at your CV? And then I realized this CV actually, like Natalie said, hasn't been updated. And then the same CV that's being sent to a marketing role, a marketing associate role, a marketing consultant role, those things are different. So looking for job is actually a job in itself, and we should be serious at it. Now, we are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence. And AI actually is very much at the core of most of the ATSs that we have. I believe in the next few years, AI will actually be the default within the ATS. It started with basic understanding of the information that you submit, but now it has evolved to make it such that you can be able to, the system can be able to analyze a CV and give you a recommendation on whether you should proceed with this candidate or not. And most of the time I go into the system, and of course I have to double check that cannot be replaced. I still have to go through it and make sure that I'm spending the right time on the right CV. And you'll be amazed how interesting it is that it can be able to match this. So then I'm going to throw it back to you. AI is not limited to us as recruiters, to big organization. It's free as long as you have internet connectivity. It means everyone in here actually can be able to access it. The fact that they can hear me out on this call. So how are you using that to be able to optimize it? Remember, the goal is not to trick or to cheat. The goal is to be able to put your best foot forward and to be able to make sure that you're spending as little time as possible on things that are manual, and also spending more quality time on things that you should be doing, like contextualizing, taking time to understand the role, taking time to reflect on your purpose. I think someone mentioned that. Do you really want to work for this organization? Do you really just need a job, or do you actually want to go to an organization that you think will align with what you want? ATS, again, provide you with an opportunity to be able to see what else is being recruited for in a particular organization. What's the culture of that organization? Sometimes you might even have the option of submitting a video interview, and it will tell you, it has all the resources given to you. So video kind of CVs, if I could use that word, it's also something that will be becoming as more relevant as we go along, because you actually want to understand how these people interact in a more animated way as opposed to a blank PDF. Mobile friendly, you no longer have to go to a cyber or look for a laptop. You can be able to just fill it on your mobile device, and that's make it very easy. You can apply on the go, you can scroll on the go. These are some of the trends that are coming up. And the biggest one, possibly the biggest one, is integration. It means with that one system, your information, is protected because it's tracked. It can be able to link with other systems, whether you're going to the next stage of recruitment. It could be an interview, it could be a psychometric assessment, it could be anything as part of that recruitment process. It makes it so easy, and the information is being carried all through. So ultimately, on your end, you might actually not feel like anything is happening, but a lot is happening to make sure that your process is seamless and people are paying much attention to you as a candidate.
Gisha, I really like what you're saying, because one of the things that I've heard, if I've heard you correctly, is that there is hope. And ATS, in the growth and in its development, can be able to get your information from the CV that you've put in with 97% accuracy. That's hope that you should be able to take home with, because we have moved from a recruiter would take 6 seconds to look at your CV to an ATS would give you a 97% accuracy into what you are presenting and put into the job. Again, let's just sit back and let that sink in and ask ourselves, what really is in our CV? What is in your CV? Before you start to say, I want to put in this, I want to put in that, just look what is in your CV currently. And as a person who is now trying to get more alive to the fact that the future of work is here, it's digital. I used to be very, scared of AI, because one of the, if you know me very well, I would keep saying, why would a machine ask me if I am a robot? That was very frightening for me as I kept going and kept learning to understand what's happening in this area of technology. And this is when I sit back and ask this similar question back in the 90s, and now that we are where we are we saying that the formatting of your CV to be accepted in an ATS is still the same way it used to be? Because before we were told if you have tables, you're out. If you have graphics, you're out. What does it look like now? And I just want to hear this from Kemunto, because you look at so many CVs through your system. What is that formatting that you need to be able to have for your system to read? Or if you are putting in graphics, what is a no, what is a yes, and how can these job seekers in this call just be able to optimize with the formattings they have?
Wow, you've just taken words right out of my mouth, because I know I wanted, when Gishea was talking, I was also making notes so that we do not forget to just guide the job seekers. And then two, also when Wandi was talking. So when you're talking about formatting, you know, formatting is first of all, as a job seeker, please know that formatting is an unlikely reason that you're not getting the job. You know, now we have got so many CV templates online, number one. So you can just search, for example, on Cover and select a template that you like. But I want to assure you that what comes out, or what you should be focusing on, are words, connections, which demonstrate that you're really the person for this job, okay? So remember that, you know, we have very many different formats, but we should not draw the eyes from important information on your CV. That's what I want to emphasize this morning. Do not, as you are working on your CV, remember Natasha said, use headings. There are some things which are important that a recruiter is looking for in a CV. Like, for example, when you're introducing yourself with your profile, it's a short introduction. The recruiter wants to know what kind of organization, what kind of, first of all, do you have the required experience they've asked for? What kind of organizations have you worked at? What are your main achievements? Because these are your unique selling points. And remember, we might use ChatGPT because it is there for us. And you know, we cannot ignore technology, because technology is supposed to make work easier. But as you're using technology, do not draw attention away from important information, okay? Just know that you need to work on your content. You need to ensure you've got keywords. ATS does not mean that all CVs, you know, we have different ATS systems. As Gishea has told us, there are some that score candidates. There are some that integrate with other systems like LinkedIn and other job boards. And then there are some that will not score. And there are some that recruiters use to search for you. You know, like, for example, what we also have at My Jobs in Kenya, we can just search for candidates by skill. You're looking for a unique skill, you just put it and CVs jump up. So that is why we keep emphasizing, ensure that you have highlighted your skills well, okay? Now, some people might have graphics on their CVs. There are some ATS systems that can pick these graphics if they're important. You know, for example, tables, graphs, pie charts. There are some which will not be picked because a recruiter essentially is looking for, does this person have a minimum 5 years experience in this sector? What did they study? Have they had special training in this area? So if you've got special training, do not forget to mention, all right? Do they have a Are you a strategic thinker? There are also some ATS systems, by the way, that will test you on your behavior, your attitude, because some jobs are critical in this thing. They want to see whether you're going to fit into their culture. All right. So just remember there are different ATS systems. Follow instruction, position yourself well all the time. And headings are good for humans because we use ATS systems to help us manage. Remember, we told you we don't want to forget you. We have 3,000 applications, 100 applications for a particular job. How do you ensure that you have gone through all of them? We are human beings as a recruiter, and you're not just seeing CVs. You have to interview, you have to do your reports, you have to meet your clients, you have to also do other things that are required for your job. So let me see whether I left anything. So remember, you now as a human being, after you've used technology, you must be able to communicate strategically about your own background. So CVs, we want to see what have you achieved. Remember that. So just make notes so that you don't forget. Thank you, Andy.
Oh, thank you very much, Nancy. And I think the underscoring word that I just want to use is make yourself unforgettable. Even if it is through the applicant tracking systems, they can be able to pick this. Do you have special skills? Is there something special that you want to tell us? And remember again what Nancy has said, with the advancement of different applicant tracking systems, there are some things that used to happen back then that they happen now that are not necessarily the reason why you're being removed from an application. And the underlying words here is that formatting is rarely the reason that you were dropped out of a process. And I just want to pick one question from the Q&A here, where we have Masha asking, and I'll direct this to Natalia. Masha is asking that we hear CV writers saying they're able to make your CV ATS compliant. And I like that question. And the reason I just want to go back to you, Natalia, on that question, and also just top it up with another one is, there's so many buzzwords that are happening. There are so many people that are doing so many things for us. The keywords is optimizing. Everything is coming in compliant. Beat this system, cheat that system. You as a headhunter, and in your experience that you have, what can you tell the job seekers that are here today on that particular issue?
Absolutely. I think one of the most typical question I get is, oh, Natalia, you are a headhunter. Can you headhunt me? Okay, how do I headhunt you? Where does your CV live? It is inside your laptop. First is offline. 2 is analog. It's not even keyword. How would you like me to headhunt you? I'm going to have to break into your house in the middle of the night, go into your laptop, try and hack your password, find your CV, and then ultimately I headhunt you. Now, this is why ATS is important. Basically, it's a back office search tool that allows me to search for you. If your CV is just living inside your laptop and you are taking it out, click and apply, the same one as said for all sorts of different is not going to pick you up. Now, it's so true to say that, I remember asking, I had so many presentations, and I must share this with you. I had a group of a combination of individuals, students, etc. And I said to them, when we post a job, we can get up to 500 to 3,000 applications to come in. Even if I post head of, sales, I'm not joking. We people who are professional click and appliers, they think the more we click and apply, the more opportunity we get. I have seen waitresses, butchers, everybody that has completely irrelevant set of skills in clicking and applying for the jobs. Now, got that out of the way. Let me answer the question. Now, for me, first, I would like you to understand that your CV is read by, it has 2 functions. One is the recruitment. The other is non-recruitment. It must have both functions, meaning when it's recruitment, we need it to be suitable. We need it to be, we need to be able to pull you into whatever. Let's say you go into Nancy's database and you put, he's going to be able to search for you. So whatever you are positioning, your hard skills, repeat them as often as you can. If you are a data analyst, a financial analyst, repeat that as often. What is it that we are going to search? So we go from there. So first is the recruiters. And you are right. When I have to review, and I do when I headhunt, I review on LinkedIn, on CV. I am a scanner. I scan and I look for specific information. And as Nancy said, make sure that the right information is visible. So this is what I say, not just for recruiting and non-recruiting entities. When you give me a big block of writing, end to end, you are forcing me to read everything. We are skimmers. It takes up to 15 minutes or more to really read a CV. How am I going to do my job if I have 100 of them to review? Therefore, first thing is make your information stand out. I have several writers, and because I'm a functional user, I have reviewed, I don't care, to over 100,000 CVs. So when I am asked to even evaluate a CV, for me, a CV is to position you to get what you need next. It's not a confession document. Nobody's going to look at your CV and say, here is a job. It's only that initial bait on the hook to get that conversation started, for the recruiter to say, you are a match. Okay, let me now look into it that little bit deeper. So first, make your information stand out. What is it that I'm picking out? Yes, the keyword element. But this, for me, what I'm going to say next is what is the most important. I call it visual language. Your CV has to speak to me on your behalf when you are not there. If you give me a sentence, I'm going to give you an example of what I do in a non-visual and visual language. One, I have been a headhunter for the last 20 years. I have hired predominantly in the IT industry. I have hired regionally in Africa, Europe, and Middle East. I have hired from graduates all the way to senior. This is non-visual. I'm going to give you my visual. Visual language allows me to quantify and qualify. Over the last 18 years, as a headhunter, I have interviewed over 18,000 people. I have personally hired and onboarded over 1,200 across 70 countries. When you are writing, you are just giving me, I am responsible for managing calendars, booking meetings, etc. What you are not doing is quantifying and qualifying. In a month, I am responsible for booking 25 meetings. You need to use content that will allow me, the reader, to understand what you are doing when you are not standing next to me to explain it to me. Most of us, we just copy paste what is in our job description. Oh, add a few things and put it on there. The CV has to tell me, where do you spend 50% of your time? What is it that you do 5%? So whenever you are positioning one job, underneath your job title, which you must align to your future job, interlateral accountant, zonal finance manager means nothing to another business. Do not take the job title in your current organization. Your CV belongs to you. Your CV is your global, even your LinkedIn. So first, under your job, you must give me a sentence that I can read and know what is it that you're doing. I am managing 4 regions with a team of responsible for covering A to B. This is what I do, 1, 2, 3, 4. What have I achieved? You get most of us saying, we just give us the result of your achievements without giving me the context. 20% cost savings. What does that mean to me? Nothing. I manage 16 suppliers in 4 countries, renegotiated terms and conditions. As a result, there was. So your profile has to communicate to 2 entities. One is the recruitment entities. We need to capture the information. When we are searching for you, all an ATS is a back office search thing. Some of them are smart enough to pick up plurals. Most of them are not. So if you put one keyword, the higher level of ATSs will take all of the other variants. So if I talk about performance management, it can be appraisals, it can be results, it can be a variety of those different keywords. So make sure you lay out your CV. I hope I'm answering the question here. My passion is just taking over here. But your CV has to communicate to the recruiting and non-recruiting entities. Use that visual language. And it's not the only way you beat ATS is through your job title. Just because you are called finance analyst, oh, I cannot take that job. Do not misrepresent yourself, because the minute we see one discussion and we look at compare other CVs, I am an expert scanner. So make the information easily available to me. Give me context. Don't just give me a sentence that says, okay, they do a little bit of that, but I still don't know what the hell you're doing. So give me some context of what you're doing. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I think if there is one thing that would stand out from what Natalia has said for me is if you don't put yourself out there, somebody will need to break in your house, break into your computer, get your CV. And this is something that you should just sit back and say, wow, because you need to ask yourself, for every job seeker that is sitting there here today, are you out there? Can people find you easily? This is a question that needs to be a preoccupation for each and every person that is seeking for a job. We will take a question from Johnson Amaye. Johnson, you are unmuted, I guess. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good morning. We can hear you.
My question is this. I think I'm one of the people who have stagnated where I am for a long time, and I think I'm getting insights here, which I think will really, really be of great help. My question is, when you're applying for jobs, sometimes you'll be asked for the CV, and someone will also ask for your LinkedIn URL. Now, like for me, I'll give a typical example. I'm a health, safety, social environment lead, and the role I'm applying for is a health and safety manager. Now, I'll optimize my CV to suit that particular role. I've sent you the CV specifically to that role. But again, when you now go to my LinkedIn, probably the information you're getting there is slightly different. So I'm applying as a health and safety person, health and safety manager, but currently I'm a health, safety, social environment lead. So what happens in that context? Because when the recruiter asks for both, hapa katikati we wonder, so how would we go about it? Thank you.
I'll pose a question to any of the panelists that is able to understand and help with Johnson's question.
I would love to just take a quick stab, if it's okay.
Yes,
first
Natalia.
of all, your LinkedIn is the most important profile that you can have. I cannot search for you. LinkedIn is its own ATS. It's its own ATS. LinkedIn does not create your profile, does not create anybody else's profile. We create that information. And I really like LinkedIn because it's global, but it's in the name, LinkedIn. LinkedIn. If you are not connected, you see, if you are connected to me, all of my friends become your connections and their friends yours. If you do not have a minimum of 1,000 to 2,000 connections in the right environment, you are not going to be pulled up, first of all. That's the first thing to remember. Unless somebody has a recruiter account, which large organization may have, but maybe the smaller ones may not. So I get asked a lot, what information should I include on my LinkedIn? Because they perceive LinkedIn as being much more public. Oh, I don't want to share some confidential information or some publicly. I'm thinking your CV is also a public profile. You should not be sharing anything on your CV that is in conflict of interest, or you are not supposed to share that. So for me, in essence, your CV can be longer. Your CV can show more additional, it can have an addendum, it can have a slight different layout, because LinkedIn gives you a structured layout. Start with your LinkedIn. Forget your CV. I know this is big. I am 1950, the CV was created, for God's sake. Go online. Some people, they download their LinkedIn because you can make it ATS specifically. Some people download their LinkedIn and they use that to click and apply. You can't. LinkedIn has its own ATS. Therefore, you need to understand different ATS. So here's my advice. The only difference is, how are you using it? If you are going to use to apply for the job, then make your CV why would somebody ask for the both? They might want to, anytime I give a manager a CV, the first place they go to is LinkedIn anyway. What do they want to know? Who are you connected to? Who's giving you a reference? We can see your photograph. We can make far more of a personal, subjective impression about you on LinkedIn, and we need to do that in order to decide where we go forward. So essentially, your CV should be digitized, keyword, search optimized against multiple ATSs, whereas your LinkedIn is only for its own ATS to understand that. So you shouldn't have different information. And what you are saying is that you have a slight job difference. You are going more for seniority rather than it is. If you input in your current role that you are managing individuals, and in your application you put in, I have managed, supervised people in my previous role, etc., and I'm ready now to go into that management role, it's more likely to pick you up. And if you want to be picked up by the application tracking tools, then put into your objective, I am keen to manage people. You are not saying I'm managing people, but just by adding that people management, it's going to be picked up by the system. So also use it strategically. I'm going to pause there.
Thank you very much, Natalia, for that very good answer to that question, which then leads me to a space where I just want to wonder with Gisheha here. So many people are talking today about what do I do with my CV? How do I optimize it? How do I know it's optimized? And I just want to understand from you, for the job seekers that are here, are there some tools and resources that are available to help people optimize their CVs and the cover letter so that they can be more ATS compliant? Other than I would going to a person that is writing these things for you. Are there some tools that are available? Which are they, and where can these job seekers find them?
Yeah, thanks so much for that. Yeah, we do have various tools, and maybe one day later we could discuss the possibility of adding some of the links in there without necessarily promoting any of the tools that are out there. But what is happening is, when it comes to optimizing your CV, it means that you are making your CV speak to the role that has been provided to you. The simplest way to think about it is, say, the job description is, let me just guess, a data analyst. The data analyst will be doing ABCD, analyzing information in these areas, will be pulling data from these others, preparing visualization, such stuff. The profile already tells you what the role is all about. It already has keywords. If you are to study that job description, you already know what you'll be required to do. Now, when I was a job applicant, or I am a job applicant, I think I usually get conflicted in that I feel I am more than what the role wants. So I want to feed in everything that I do. Even if I manage to maybe drive someone from point A to B, I want to put it in a data analyst role. It's good, right? But it has nothing, it has no bearing to the role. So you always are more than what you can put in your CV, in your profile, and I get that. But it's easier for you to be able to contextualize on what will be the value addition that you can give to the job profile or to the role. So once you analyze that, then you can be able to take that as an initial step to be able to look at what you do, not changing your roles, not changing your titles, because you do not want to lie or bring issues with trust, but to be able to demonstrate. I might have maybe like now my title is Senior Principal People Analytics at Career Connections. If you are to Google that out there, you might not actually see most people with that title. But actually, when you look at the kind of things that I do, you might realize how it may relate to various of the jobs that I occupy. So it's my duty as an individual to be able to understand in my role, irrespective of the title that they gave me. I could be the Chief Happiness Officer for Career Connections or for another organization. But in my role, and I like what Natalia said, what can I do to be able to say that I can be able to do that job? And once I do that, then how do you optimize that and take it into systems to be able to work with? I think right now there's a lot of tools that you can be able to use. I do like the fact that you can always reach out to professionals like we have in this call who are experienced in doing that and can be able to help you to be able to optimize that for an applicant tracking system. You do have tools that can be able to help you with that. In fact, for most of the applicant tracking systems, once you log into a page, you'll be able to know what that tool is. It will maybe be somewhere on their HTTPS, that's on their web address. It may be somewhere as a signature. If you click on that, it opens up resources to be able to understand how that particular tools work. Once you know what that tool is, then you can actually be able to simply say, I want to optimize my CV to be able to integrate easily with this particular ATS. That's very quick. It's a quick tool that you can get. In fact, most of the ATSs will have tools to be able to tell you, do not do this. So once you click on that, once you study that particular ATS being used, it will be able to tell you, don't use graphics. If they don't use graphics, don't do this or consider doing this. You already have the tips and the tools provided to you therein. You need to realize that we in the talent attraction, we actually are interested in getting the right people, and we'll do everything to make sure we get you. So there's no trick questions here. It's not set there as a blocker. The resources are up to you. So you need to take the time to be able to familiarize yourself with a particular process that is being followed. You can't necessarily say that about my CV for ATS. That can be a bit pro. And I think Nancy mentioned this earlier on. You could have differences between the different tools that you can be able to use. If you go quickly online right now and you say, I want to see how efficiently my CV passes. Passes is P-A-R-S-E. You'll be able to get various solutions in there. You'll be able to do demos. Just be careful because that's a lot of personal data that you're sharing. So also just do your own due diligence before you submit them in there to be able to understand, how can it be able to be translated. And some of them will actually give you a profile and tell you, we've been able to get 73%, 90% of information. These are the skills that are coming out. Once you study that, and then you realize it's talking about me being a driver, me being a data analyst, me doing what, yet I'm supposed to be a chef, then you can change that accordingly.
Wow. I think for me, I'm having that moment where I'm saying mind blown. You can literally go to your the application link, look what that ATS is, go and search how you can optimize your CV to that ATS. And some of them can give you what everybody's trying to find in the industry now, the cheat sheets. They can tell you, don't use graphics, use this. So I think every person that is here today should ask themselves, have you ever tried to do that? Do you know how the internet in itself can be able to help you to optimize your CV? And even as Gisheha has further said, when you are putting yourself out there, you can go and see how well you are being received from different areas within the internet, which are free for you, or you can actually reach out to a professional that is able to do this works. And I keep saying, considering that this is a very significant piece in your movement and your career journey, make sure that if you're seeking a professional, seek a professional that you can be able to stake your reputation on, that they can be able to help you to do X, Y, Z. It is very important for that to be something that you consider very well. And as we are speaking here, I just want to go back to you, Nancy, and ask these keywords that everybody is talking about, these phrases that need to be in your CV, looking at the experience that you've had with quite a number of job seekers through my jobs in Kenya, are there any keywords or phrases that are considered red flags or may even have a negative impact on a job application?
Wow. Interesting way to put it, negative impact. So I think I'm going to start from where Gisheha left it. I think for us this morning, the team that is addressing you, our dear job seekers, is you must know what you want and what you're going for and what strengths you're bringing to a role. That is one. And then two, you must use proper language. At least all of us here, I believe, have the English, we went through school. So make sure you use proper grammar and you avoid also spelling mistakes. Because remember, I told you that you're competing with very many other people. You're not the only applicant. You might be the best person for this job. So keywords is, number one, read that job description clearly. And now job descriptions, depending with the type of company, the job description, some of them appear differently. They'll put it in sections. For example, where it says that you must have a certain qualifications, and I mentioned this, like you must have gone through a particular training. Make sure those words, what they're asking for is in your CV. Because if today we are looking for a restaurant manager, for example, you want one that has had even supervisory roles, manager, you've managed a team, right, of people in a restaurant. You know a bit. So those keywords that you're picking from the job description is what should be there. The skills that you possess. What kind of training have you gone for? And there are many, like even in IT, there are so many jobs that are coming up in IT, and there are very many unique areas of training that not all IT professionals have. So I think also for us, it's important to mention that as a job seeker, or if you find yourself in a place where we call it a career plateau, you find you're not growing, always be learning. Look at the jobs that you want to go for, even when you are not actively applying, and ask yourself, what does it take to do this job? What is required for me to be able to fulfill this role or to get through the door, so that you can start doing those trainings, or you look at your CV. And as we've mentioned before, as you're trying to identify someone to help you with your CV, first of all, are you able to tell your own story? You can come to Nancy, yes, to do for you a very nice CV. You find yourself in front of Natasha or Kishea. They're asking you, situational questions about how you fulfilled a certain task. You're not able to answer. Yet, Nancy packaged your CV in such a way that you achieved this. Whoa, you flip profits in this area. So that's another thing. For me, normally, when even I've seen a question, someone asking, how much do you charge for CV review? First of all, you need to look at, some of these things you don't need to pay for, dear job seeker. I think we just panic as Kenyans because your friend went for a CV review, then you go and pay for a CV review. Then the CV is not even demonstrating you. We must be able to connect you to that job. Tell your story. You might have not been working for a long time. You're in a transition, right? Like, for example, even you might decide for women, I'm going to take time off to take care of my children, or to give birth and stay home for 3 years. It is okay. But it is how now you package your transition, your profile. Because you've got the skills, you can be able to do this job. But are you able to bring this story out? So be careful that even the person who is sitting to do for you your CV, you're able to also defend that CV. Okay, you don't just pay people to do for you a CV and then you're not able to speak for that CV. Someone wonders, this CV is nice, but this person cannot speak, cannot tell us anything. So that's why I'm telling you, know your, first of all, your career plan, where you are going, why are you applying for that job, why that organization. Then look at yourself, do I have those skills? Do I have that relevant experience? How will I stand out? What is my unique selling value? What are the strengths I'm bringing to this organization? What kind of impact have I done before that I'm going to bring on board? How am I going to show these people that I'm going to get in here and get the work done? Am I going to engage well with other colleagues? It's not just your CV also, right? It's been done well, but maybe you cannot even relate to people well, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, Nancy. And you've said some really important things that have made me have a giggle here and there. One of the things I just like to say is when I was younger in my career, I think there is a period of 2 years because I used to use the same CV to look for a job. It had a typo, and instead of reading curriculum vitae, it used to read curriculum vitae. I think about that and laugh. And I had set that out for a period of almost 2 years. So again, you go back and look and see what these things mean. One of the things that are quite disappointing and a really huge flag is what Nancy has just said. When you go and they write for you a CV and you have no idea what's in that CV, as a person that sits on the other sides of recruitment, because like if I go to a recruiter and they bring me some people and you're sitting and you cannot relate to that person, that's a very serious red flag that everybody needs to be avoiding. And again, as Nancy is saying, some of these things you really necessarily don't have to pay for them. You can be more conscientious in what you're doing in your own applications and understand how you can present yourself very well in the role that you're looking at. And in these presentations, there are quite a number of things that you can be able to learn from each other, learn from available courses that are there. And this is where I just want to go back to you, Natalia, and ask, what are some of these online courses or tutorials that can be available to help job seekers, gain an even bigger understanding of their ATSs and how they improve their jobs? Because I've seen at Just Work, there is some courses that you're putting out there to help people with their digital CVs.
Absolutely. The first thing that I would like to offer to everybody that is online today is we do a free match rate, but it's not the match rate because you can get the match rate from anywhere. What you get with the match rate is a very detailed document that explains how to make everything work for you. It took me a good week to prepare it. And you see, I think when it comes to getting your CV done, we can use ChatGPT. We can even build our website. But when you are using an expert, it's not that you can't do it yourself, is that the expert knows what you need. This is why I say we invest in wigs, we invest in all sorts of things, but when it comes to our career, for some reason I'm going to do it myself. And there we go, and then you apply the same approach over and over again. Now, I take a very, very different approach to managing your career. I believe your career is your life. And your career has to serve the different phases, especially as women. We have different phases that we need. What I do have is one product that honestly I would, whether you are happy in your job, unhappy in your job, I would really recommend. It does teach you how to create your CV. It teaches you LinkedIn coaching. What it is called Masterclass Series. It's online. It's about 7 hours and it has 3 key areas. Personal branding. We do not understand that personal branding, both online and offline, are the most important aspects of managing our career. How am I perceived inside my current organization? How do I create a brand online with my right hashtags and digital? Second, for me, LinkedIn is the best place. Yes, you can get your CV, you can click and apply, but there is a limitation in your click and apply. If you are using just a CV to manage your career, you are missing on almost 95% of all the jobs online. You need to understand what job boards are advertising what. You are not going to find certain jobs on Brighter Mondays. You are going to find specific jobs on My Jobs in Kenya. So unless we are going to click and apply, LinkedIn for me is the most important. And then number 3, how you see a job title on its own means nothing. The industry that you work in, the size of the company you work in, your same job function substantially shifts and changes. So in the masterclass series, I teach you, dissect your future industries, dissect the companies you are going with, start building those relationships, because recruitment and HR, we are only influencers. We are only interested in you if we have something open, whereas your hiring manager, the person who sees your IP, is constantly looking for you. So if I were to make any recommendation, is the masterclass series. It covers everything. It has 8 hours. And of course, if you drop us a message at hello@Just Work, remember Just Work has a missing U, JST, we will do your match rates for your LinkedIn, for your CV. We have a lot of freebies as well you can sign up for. But if I were to make any product recommendation, is the masterclass series. It removes the way we are searching is wrong. And it is such one of the most exhausting things, especially when you're a senior person. You spend hours reading job descriptions. You go to interviews, you prepare, you fill in forms, and then you hear nothing. It is incredibly frustrating. But if you do it the right way, getting a job is far easier than you think. Not just beating the application tracking, but really making sure you are not just doing side moves, but are also developing your career. etc. So I would say, yeah, the masterclass series would be the only product I would say, however happy you are in your role, to invest and take a look at.
That's actually very useful, and I hope every job seeker has been able to understand at least one place that you can go and be able to get some of these learnings and make an investment in yourself. I always say making an investment in yourself is the best investment that you can make. There is a time somebody once told me that we spend so much time trying to make other people, other things work, and we don't spend half as much time on ourselves and the things that we need to be able to do. So invest in yourself. If you have gotten to that place where you've gone to all the available resources that you can reach, and you notice that you're still missing that extra, find that professional, find that person that knows better, and have these conversations with them and get to have your career progression go a little bit faster than that which you could do by yourself. I just want to speak to Kisheha because of your long-standing role within the job searching area, and especially because Career Connection is very towards executive headhunting. I just keep wanting to appreciate what are some of the ways that these job seekers that are here can add value to their network connections to foster, a very mutually benefiting relationship. Like you're in LinkedIn, do you talk to these people? Are you going to attend some of networking events that are there? What do you do to make sure that you're getting a mutually beneficial relationship with these networks that you're creating?
Thank you very much for that question, Wendy. I think it's a very valid question. And I think the fact that we have all of these participants in this call, we are making a step in the right direction, coming together like-minded individuals to be able to understand what's happening in the industry. It's one thing to know what's happening in the industry so that then you can be able to keep yourself up to date, and also networking and using the right kind of platforms to be able to network. LinkedIn is by far, the largest professional networking job site in the world. And like Natalia said, if you're not on LinkedIn, then are you just telling me that you just want to work in a particular closed setting where your CV is nowhere to be found? And if it has to be found, then that will be an extensive task. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I think the first step will be for you to get on in there. And this is the interesting bit. Once you get in there, how do you then start engaging with the right communities, depending on where you are? By communities, I mean, how do you start joining the right groups? For example, we all have WhatsApp, or most of us do have WhatsApp, but it's good to have that WhatsApp. And it's a different thing for you to join the right groups with the like-minded individuals. So how do you use LinkedIn? Search for the relevant groups depending on what your industry is or what kind of careers you're interested in. There, you'll be able to get much more specialized, much more expertise. You'll be able to get much more relevant adverts and links and what is happening so that you can tailor yourself accordingly. If you're in the techie world or you're techie, then over and above LinkedIn, how do you then also move towards more specialized kind of platforms that can be able to help you with that? So if you're telling me you're a data scientist or you're a developer and you don't even know what GitHub is, there's a big question mark in there. One, maybe you just did it because it's the degree that you did or it's a course that you did. But two, you're also not keeping yourself abreast on what is happening. So how do you start using such platforms? Most of them are free, just free to use instead of spending that time engaging in a lot of videos that maybe do not add so much value to your career. How about you channel that time to much more directed and purposeful kind of platforms where you can be able to advance yourself? But also, even one-on-one conversations cannot be replaced. If there's an event for a particular, maybe a particular industry or area that you're interested in, how about you just show up, connect with like-minded individuals, know what they have, what they're doing, what they're up to. You might also want to link up with some of those people who feel they've made relevant steps. How do you link up with them, get mentors, so that then you're also able to keep yourself abreast on what is happening? So I really do believe there's a lot of opportunities in here, and you cannot rely on saying, I submitted my CV last year but one, and I never got a job. It has to be an active conversation that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Back to you, Wendy.
Thank you very much, Gish, for that very useful points that you have just made. We have Jen on the call who has a question directed to the panelists. Jen, go ahead, please.
Thank you so much, Wendy. So I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my question goes to Kemunto. You said that you are in law, then you went to recruitment. So for me, I have been in marketing, I have been in sales, and then alongside I was doing community development initiatives. So right now I'm going to my master's and I'm purely focusing on community development. So on my profile and how I become a personal brand, should I remove the sales and marketing roles so that I present myself as purely an development economist specialist, or I just retain the other roles that I've been having? So I'm having a challenge in that, just presenting a personal brand that people will remember. So that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And I think also other panelists are able to answer you pretty well. And yes, you know, as we said before, it's how we are able to tell our story and demonstrate. And at the end of the day, it's about what you want. So put in your CV what is necessary, what you're going for, because we've done also a lot of volunteer work that probably are not even necessary in our CV. We've run marathons, some have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, but probably it's not even necessary for the job you're going for. So I would urge you to only put information that is propelling you into that job. So if you want to put something in marketing, what are you bringing in marketing that is important for community development? Marketing is a lot of also engagement. You've learned to engage with people, you learn to engage with community, in community development. It has helped you in your communication. So it's about how you're able to tell your story to demonstrate that you've got some unique selling value. I hope I've answered you, probably, okay?
Yes, you have.
All righty, then. Thank you very much, Jen, for that question. And I just really also want to emphasize that it is possible to move from one area of expertise into another one. Even as I sit here with you, I also started in law. I've ended up in HR. And these things work depending on how well you put yourself out there. We have been speaking for quite some time, and I just want to ask one last question to the panelists. And as you answer the question, please just answer and then give us some of your final remarks as we take any other questions that are pending from the panelists from the on the question and answer tab. I just also want to draw the attention of participants that some of your questions are being answered in writing from the question and answer tab. So as we're sitting here today and we are looking at the different things that we need to be able to do to make sure that we have good presentations that the applicant tracking systems can read, I just want to go back to you, Natalia, and ask this question, because you've been very emphatic about the fact that you need to be on LinkedIn, you need to be on other platforms that can help you to network better. The question would be then, what is the long-term impact of building a strong professional network, even after you have gotten this job, for your own career growth and development?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I want us. You see, your career is your life. You must manage your career proactively, not reactively. Many of us don't know when we will get a job. Sometimes we are not motivated. Sometimes our boss, the number one reason why we leave is our immediate management. And we tend to leave on our, I've had enough, that little tiny thing that breaks the camel's back. So what I say to you is manage your career proactively. Don't leave it to click, apply, click, apply, click, apply, hours and hours. It doesn't really work. It's not just the ATSs, but also we don't, how many jobs are you going to read? So in order to manage your career, what I recommend you do is get in the habit of spending at least 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not just a place you plonk your CV. I learn a huge amount. I headhunt in groups. If tomorrow A client comes to me and says, I want a unicorn that, I don't know, they've asked for whatever they want. I go into groups. Why? Birds of feather flock together. So where do your birds go? If I'm going to advertise, I have to advertise in front of the right eyes. So manage your career proactively. Understand that each company, LinkedIn is one of the most amazing. I really don't get any commission from LinkedIn, I promise, okay? But what I'm saying is you can build a very strategic network through companies searching. The search tool is one of the best tools, and that's not even a recruiter tool. Join the right groups. Spend half an hour, look at people that look like you globally. Try and not just remember, are you selling your existing skills? Are you learning any new skills in your current role? You might be in a senior role, but what is it that you are learning? Everything is shifting. The way we do everything is changing. So manage your career proactively. Get yourself where you can be headhunted regularly. Position yourself. Don't leave managing your career into last minute, what do I now do? And so that manage it proactively. Spend half an hour every day on LinkedIn. Don't use your LinkedIn like Facebook. Anytime you like somebody's, it appears on your search field or whatever your activities. Keep your LinkedIn clean, meaning keep it to your core skills. If you are a financial analyst, what are you doing a business in, I don't know, the maternity wards and medical field? It's got nothing to do with you. So keep your make your LinkedIn not like Facebook. Try and comment and like senior profiles, anybody that you are posting, because every time you click on their profile, they get a message. Natalia has tagged you. Natalia has liked you. Natalia has endorsed you. You can appear in front of the right people just by endorsing them. Get to know LinkedIn is much easier, and it can teach you where your industry is going. So manage your career proactively. It's your life. Don't do it, click and apply and leave it in a reactive format. That would be my closing.
Wow. Thank you very much, Natalia, for that very comprehensive response. And I just want to go back to you, Nancy, because you have handled quite a huge load in terms of applications, because one of the things I notice about the data of my jobs in Kenya is that you have over 2 million subscribers. That's quite a number. And I just wanted to find out from you if you can give us advice if there are those industry-specific certifications, because it's a question that seems to come up all the time, or qualifications that job seekers should include keywords in their applications.
Wow, that is very good. As you are talking, something just popped up on those industry-specific certifications. Dear listeners, if you belong in a certain industry and you know they require you to be a member, to be certified, to be a member in good standing, it is important for you to be such a member. Okay, because sometimes you are recruiting, like recently, we're also recruiting for a HR, you know, and HR, the organization was clear. They wanted someone who's a member of the Institute of Human Resource Management, a member in good standing. And I kid you not, we had very many good applications, but most of them were not members in good standing, because you know some institutes will not penalize individuals for not registering, but you're limiting yourself. Are you ensuring that your CPD points are up to date? You know, if you're an advocate, you know, you need to go for those trainings. If you're an accountant, you need to apply to go for those trainings, even engineers. So don't limit yourself. Do the basics, first of all, because, you know, sometimes there are behaviors or there are things that we do that limit our progress, and we do them deliberately. So first of all, as Natasha was also mentioning, we need to be able to brand ourselves well. You know who you are, and you know what you want. But if you want, let's say, C, and you're at point A, what are the things you need to do between point A and C to acquire that? When you look at these job applications and you think, I mean, the job descriptions out there, and you think it's not necessary, you are locking yourself out, okay? So, and besides that, I also want to say, as an individual, wherever it is you are at, and wherever it is you're going, you need to be able to tell a compelling story. You need to be clarity. So it's not just when you're called for an interview that you start to prepare. Preparation is now. What are the joys you take from your job? Right now, what you're doing, probably it's not what you just got that job, but what are the sundries in that job? You need to be a positive person. How are you experienced? You know, you need to be experienced well so that you're able to tell a compelling story. If there's something, if there's a project to be done or certain tasks, you can volunteer because you're seeing positive things in that job, because you might decide to go back to school and do something else, like Joanne who shared that she's now doing community development. Remember, and probably in your organization, you have CSR going on. Are you volunteering to help in organizing those activities? Because, you know, this will help you come up with a compelling story that you're able to do this, participate in this way, and these are the benefits you reaped out of it. It's not just being employed and to be paid. You need to find fulfillment in what you're doing so that you're able to, when you go to the next interview, you know, you have that energy. Someone can see, this candidate actually did this and they have this energy. You're not lying or you've not Googled your answer. Thank you.
Nancy, you have said something that I say consistently. Do not be that Google rehearsed candidate. Because surprise, recruiters also are on Google. So they can have been able to see some of these responses. When you're speaking about authenticity in what it is that you're saying, what it is that you bring to a role, this is what is actually one of the biggest differentiators between one candidate to another. So even as you're doing everything to make sure that you're getting your next best career, make sure that the investment is right in your own ways that can differentiate you and put your value proposition at the table of any recruiters' conversations or any organizational conversations. And I just wind up with you, Kisha. We've been talking about a lot of things that are AI in orientation. And I just want to appreciate if you could give the job seekers here advice on how they can use AI-powered tools to identify and address just some of the potential biases that are in the application materials before they submit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned something at the very beginning, and I like that we are talking about it now, in that, you know, what goes in, if it's not as good, then what comes out won't be as good, if I could use different words to explain that. And therefore, bias, it's one thing that might come up. Of course, there are people who have said that the ATSs are biased, and for various reasons, and it makes sense. Yes, it's not 100% correct. It's still improving, but no one is. We're also not 100% correct most of the time. So what is important is, one, avoid trying to beat the system or over optimizing your profile to sort of try to put yourself in a way that you're not. I think that's not being authentic, and it's not a fair use of time for yourself, for the recruiters, and actually for the world. You rather use that time to actually do something that's more developmental for yourself. When you look at AI, depending on what your preference is, you know, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Bird, whatever it might be, Write on it, there's so many that are coming up right now. They are able to sort of understand what you're trying to say and be able to tone it down or actually tone it up if you're not representing it the way it should, so that then you are able to pass the message that you intend to pass. You know, of course, you don't want to use language that might land in the eyes of the recruiter behind the ATS. Remember, there's someone who is going to be looking at your document at the end of the day. So how do you use whatever it is, whatever a preference is, to be able to say, I want to express myself, and this is what I want to come up. Give me the words to explain that. Then you can be able to use that accordingly. Also, whatever you get from AI, again, whichever you use, you don't copy paste that right to your CV. You really need to go through it and be able to understand whether it's communicating what you want it to, because it's not an expert. It just knows that the moment you say Gisheha, the next name that will come will be maybe Gisheha Gitau, maybe whatever. So that's what it's using. So it's not 100% correct. Therefore, review that, ensure that the message is packaged the way you want it to be packaged. Feel free to requery again and then put it so that then it's going on seamlessly. And this AI will keep on evolving, just like the ATSs are evolving. So please keep yourself up to date in that regard. Ensure you are reading the job description. I think we've really talked about that so many times in this call, and I guess it's the keyword for the call. Job description is very important, and you really need to make sure that whatever speaking to speaks to the job, not against the job. Back to you, Wendy.
Yes, what a powerful way to put a pause on this conversation. And I know there are quite a number of questions that are still coming up, quite a number of areas where we need to address. And that's why we keep saying in your registration, when you registered for this website, for this webinar, sorry, it gave you the details of all of the persons that are panelists in this conversation. If you go on our pages, you will also find the pages of the experts that are sitting here so that you can be able to reach to them directly and have these conversations, and some of you to even get to invest more in your career and in yourself. We have really enjoyed every person that has taken their time to join us. It has been, as usual, a very engaging conversation, very good questions. We look forward to hosting you as always next month, Friday, last Friday of the month, same time, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. This has been Conversations with Wendy, where we have discussed how we can master applicant tracking systems to give us the best edge in our job applications. Thank you very much for your time, and we do wish you a very lovely weekend going forward. Thank you.
Thank you all.